So today I just want to talk about ruminating. So a lot of the stress or anxiety that we put ourselves under isn't so much things like the stress we get at work, it's how we think about the stress that we had at work, or how we worry about the things at work or in our environment or things that are coming up. It's how we ruminate over things that have happened in our past and how long we continue to worry about those things once those actual events or those situations have ended. So when I spoke previously about getting lost in the Alaskan wilderness and having to endure through the night and then having to cover a lot of extra ground that I didn't need to, wasting heaps of time, heaps of energy, and pretty much getting sort of a little bit upset with myself about what had happened, I could have spent the next day ruminating about the mistake I made, how much that had cost me. I could have ruminated about all the negative things that had happened rather than just understanding that it happened. I need to cut that off, dissociate myself from those thoughts, and just continue on thinking about what I now need to get done. Okay, and we do this in a lot of environments. We do it in work environments when something negative has happened or we've underperformed. We ruminate about what we could have done, what happened, what we should do next time. Okay, in sport, if we make errors, we ruminate on the error that we made, how that's cost the team, how that's underperformed, how we've looked in these situations. We worry about how we're going to look into the future. We worry about the impact it has on us. But the reality is it's happened. And now we need to disassociate from those thoughts and start to, one, provide space to relax so that we don't have stress coming in or a negative stimulus coming in. And two, we need to distract ourselves from that so we can now go and look for the relevant information we need to carry on or with the tasks we've got or plan for the future. When we do ruminate, however, there's a continuation of the stress response or threat response. So all the biological changes that happen when we're under threat continue when we ruminate, or if we start to ruminate about something that's happened, we then go and get back into that high stress state or that high anxious state. So all the biological changes that occur, when we think about it, they occur or happen exactly the same as when the event happened. So we're reliving the event both mentally and physiologically, okay? And it's when we can't distract ourselves from these thoughts or create space for this physiological changes to downregulate, it becomes chronic stress. So a lot of our chronic stress is actually the fact that we're ruminating about what's happened in the past or things that we've kind of underperformed, we weren't happy with our performance or worried about how we look or how we're going to look in the future, okay, any number of things. That continues us into chronic stress. When we're in chronic stress, we start to get a lot of changes in our health and wellness and our mental states as well. And it's all negative. So we need to be able to break from these worrying thoughts and be able to move on to what we need to so that we have better performance in the future and we reduce our risks of all-cause mentality or negative mental health and wellness issues. The other thing we need to take into account is when we're ruminating and we're under stress, it also interferes with the way we react with everyone within our environment. So if we're at home where we should be regenerating, we should be recovering, it should be our space where we feel safe, where we get back to being who we are. If we're ruminating, then we drag all that stress or that negative emotion into that environment, and everyone in that environment notices that change. They'll notice the change in our non-verbal communication, in our body language, posture, these sort of things, and they think it's them. They'll put it on them that we're upset with them, and they internalize it as to they've done something wrong, and now they become defensive towards us. So now we get these negative interactions between us and those we love because we're ruminating about problems that we've dragged into our home. So that creates more problems, and now we see threats and we see problems in our home. So now we go from a work environment where we have challenge or friction into a home environment where we have friction, and it's just not healthy. That space should be where we recover, where we regenerate. And the more we work from home, the more we drag our work stresses or our out-of-home stresses back into our home environment while we're interacting with people. And if we've got young children, they don't always know the difference between being at home and at work and being at home and ready to play. So we need to make sure that when we're at home, we have clear boundaries between what is work and what is home. We need to make sure that we set up boundaries to people within our work environments, that these are the times I can be reached, these are the times I can't be reached. Okay, when I'm at home, I'm at home. I'm not open to continuous phone calls, emails, okay? So you need to set boundaries about how you will allow other people to treat your time, because if they're taking your time off you, that creates more problems. So we need to make sure that we have this space where we're not worried about the challenges that we've done or our work stress or competitive stress or whatever stresses that we have outside our home, so that we can recover, we can regenerate, and we can turn up the next day ready to conduct our tasks, meet any challenges, overcome any friction, anything like that. If we don't have these boundaries, then how do we separate work stress from home stress, and how do we turn off these worrying thoughts and rumination? Because if we continue to ruminate, then we're going to continue to have chronic stress problems, and that's just going to create a whole cascade of negative health and wellness impacts that are going to impact us into the future. So we need to make sure that we set up these boundaries, we train other people how we want to be treated, and we make sure that we've got space where we can separate from our worrying thoughts and where we can look for the positives in our environment, so that we can work hard when we need to and we can relax when we have to. So we need to make sure that we're set up an environment where we can disengage from these worrying thoughts or stop ruminating, so we're not dragging our work or our competition stresses or our out-of-home stresses into our home environment, so it's not impacting us there and or the relationships that we're in, so that we have a space where we can rejuvenate, regenerate, and we can make sure that we're fully recovered so that we can turn up the next day to overcome any difficult tasks or any complexities that we have to meet. So I hope that gives you a little bit of understanding about rumination and how it impacts us, and gives you something to start to look at as you go forward trying to optimize your behaviors to get the best out of your life.